All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. So hello to those of you who are joining a career conversation session for the first time. My name is Kelly Brucker. I'm the lead career coach over at Tech Elevator. Tech Elevator is a coding boot camp. We're headquartered in Cleveland, Ohio, but we have campuses in Columbus, Cincinnati, Detroit, Pittsburgh, and our newest location in Philadelphia. As well. We've been around since 2015, and we essentially take people who are career changers and teach them how to become software developers. We give them all the tools, tips, and tricks that they need to learn how to code and be successful in a career as a software developer. At Tech Elevator, I manage our career development program, which we refer to as the Pathway Program. The Pathway Program runs right in line with everything we do in the classroom. So in addition to learning how to code, our students learn awesome soft skills and how to get jobs, and we help them get those jobs as well. We've placed over 1,500 students who are currently working as software developers, which is amazing. So we're going to get started in just a second. Just a quick reminder, if you've just joined us, since this is the Zoom webinar feature, you will automatically be muted and not be able to turn on your video. If you have any questions about logistics or anything like that, please use the chat option. You'll see a button at the bottom of your screen that says chat. Our lovely Director of Marketing, Andrea, will be monitoring the chat. If you have any questions that come up during the presentation, please use the Q&A feature. The Q&A feature is also on the bottom, and you can submit any questions you have directly into the Q&A feature, and Andrea will be collecting all these questions, and we will have a Q&A session at the end. So today's session, we're going to take a deep dive into LinkedIn, which is one of my favorite parts of the job search. So we're going to take a deep dive. Presentation will be about 20 minutes, and then we'll have time at the end for Q&A. So let's get started. So LinkedIn, why the heck is it important, and why is it something everyone is talking about when you're in the job search? So LinkedIn is so important. It essentially serves as your online resume, your online presence. I promise you, recruiters, hiring managers, they will look at your LinkedIn profile. Whenever I'm conducting internal interviews with candidates, I expect them to have a LinkedIn profile. And not just because the roles that I'm typically interviewing for are career coach roles, but because it's just something I expect. The morning I'm doing an interview, the first thing I will do is I will look at their LinkedIn profile, and then I will look at their resume. So I always look at LinkedIn profiles. Some fun facts, 95% of recruiters will use LinkedIn to vet candidates. I personally think that number is low. Coming from as a former recruiter, I don't know any recruiters who don't use LinkedIn to vet candidates. So I'm surprised it's only 95%. More than 660 million people are on LinkedIn, and that number is constantly climbing. So every cohort at Tech Elevator, which usually runs about every 14 weeks, presentation with students. And every cohort, I have to do a quick Google search to look at what the latest stat is. Last cohort, this was 640 million plus users. So just to give you an idea of how quickly that number is constantly climbing, so many people are on LinkedIn, and that number is constantly growing. LinkedIn isn't just for posting your online resume, it's a job board as well. It's actually the #1 source of quality hires, and there are over 20 million job postings on LinkedIn. I personally love LinkedIn when I'm on the job hunt. It's one of my favorite job boards because I know that when I look at the LinkedIn job board, there are going to be quality job postings on there. So like I said earlier, most managers, they will look at your LinkedIn profile. So it's so important to have this. So whether you've had a LinkedIn profile for years or you're just getting around to creating one and you're active in your job search, I want to talk about some important updates to make to your LinkedIn profile. So let's jump in with one of the first updates. If you're active on your job search, you have to let recruiters know that you're looking. How do you do this? There are 2 really easy things that you can do. First and foremost, you should be updating your headline. What is the headline? The headline is that little blurb that goes directly underneath your profile picture. If you were to look at my LinkedIn profile right now, it would say Lead Pathway Program Director at Tech Elevator, because that's my current role and I'm not looking for a new job. But if you are active in your job search, you should make that apparent in your headline. So this could be as simple as putting something like actively looking for software development roles. Short, sweet, and to the point. What you want to avoid are headlines that aren't very specific or are bland, like looking for work, open to opportunities, actively looking for job. Those aren't as specific and don't draw recruiters in. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you're specifying the industry and role, or at least one of those in your headline. If you want to take it a step further than actively looking for software development roles, you could get a little bit more creative and do something like rockstar software developer with 20 years of experience looking for next opportunity. Same thing, just a little bit of a step further. You also want to be careful with your headline. Keep in mind, it's just a headline. It should be a short fragment. I've seen headlines that are 2 full sentences. That's not a headline, that's your summary. So keep the lengthy explanation in your story for the summary, which we'll talk about in a few more slides. So again, keep your headline short, sweet, to the point. A small fragment is all you really need. So that's the first thing you should do. The second thing to make sure that recruiters know that you're looking is to turn on your, you'll want to go to your profile and you'll notice an option in the top right-hand corner underneath your headline that says show recruiters you're open to job opportunities. It actually looks very similar to the button that's currently on the slide where it says let recruiters know you're open, and you literally just toggle on a switch to on or off. Once you toggle it on, you can go to advanced settings and expand those settings. Maybe you're actively looking, maybe you're just casually looking. So you can make that preference on there, but you can also set your preferences for jobs. Are you open to full-time, part-time, remote? What areas are you looking for? So recruiters typically have, I should say, a LinkedIn recruiter account. LinkedIn Recruiter is a premium LinkedIn account that essentially gives them bonus features. Most companies will pay for their recruiters to have this premium account because it is so beneficial. Recruiters with a LinkedIn Recruiter account are able to see more into your profile, even if you have specific privacy settings on, and they're able to see who is open to opportunities. So they can do specific searches just for people who are actively looking. That is why it's so important to toggle the switch on. And keep in mind that only people with a LinkedIn Recruiter account can see this, which is great if you're casually looking and you're worried about your boss seeing this. But keep in mind that just because your boss might not have a LinkedIn Recruiter account, there might be recruiters or folks in HR at your company that do have LinkedIn Recruiter accounts. So one of those recruiters might catch wind that you're actively looking and might go back to your boss, and it might put you in a really weird, awkward situation. So if you're casually looking and still working full-time, proceed with caution if you're going to toggle the switch on. But if you're actively looking, 100% definitely toggle that switch on. It's very, very important. All right, update number 2. Update your experience. So think about, when was the last time that you've updated your LinkedIn profile? If you've been working for a while, your experience section is probably outdated. But if you're now back in the job hunt, it's definitely important to get that updated. So you want to make sure to update all of your jobs in here. The nice thing about LinkedIn is there's no limit. Whereas your resume, a best practice is to keep it to 1 page. Your LinkedIn profile doesn't have to be 1 page. Put all of that experience that you weren't able to fit on your resume on your LinkedIn profile. A lot of people often ask me, well, where do I start? There's so much content, so much experience to put on there. Copy and paste everything you have on your resume, put it on your LinkedIn profile, and then expand from there. Like I said before, maybe there are jobs that you weren't able to put on your resume that you want to put on your LinkedIn profile. Maybe there are specific bullets or details about that experience that you weren't able to show on your resume that you want to showcase on your LinkedIn profile. All those details can go on your LinkedIn profile. If you were on our session a few weeks ago about best practices with updating your resume, we talked a lot about using active language, using action verbs. So same goes for your LinkedIn profile. Whenever you're updating the bullets under experience, make sure that you're using action verbs, nice bullets that are really going to pull people in and catch their attention. Focus on what you accomplished and what was specific to you in your role, and not the 5 other people who were in the same role on that team. Update number 3, tell your story through the summary. Summary is my personal favorite part on LinkedIn. This is where you really get to take 1 or 2 paragraphs and tell everyone about yourself. Who are you? What have you accomplished? Where have you been? What's your story? I recommend a nice, healthy paragraph. That's all you need. I would not do more than 2 paragraphs. That's overkill, and most recruiters aren't going to read more than one, more than 1 paragraph, excuse me. If you have an elevator pitch, we'll actually have an elevator pitch session coming up in May, so stay tuned for that. But if you have an elevator pitch, use that as a starting point. Your elevator pitch is usually 30 seconds, and it's your tell me about yourself. So this is a great way to start. This is actually what we tell our students at Tech Elevator. Use your elevator pitch as a starting point for your LinkedIn summary. Think about, what are your strengths? What makes you unique? Think about those things and really insert some bits and pieces of your own personality. If you're the kind of person with a big sense of humor, it's okay to include that, but be careful. Make sure you're keeping it professional. If I see a good creative summary, that's really going to pull me in and gain my interest as a recruiter. Make sure to also use keywords. So recruiters are going to be doing Boolean searches on LinkedIn, and they'll be using specific keywords. So whatever keywords are important to the kind of job, the kind of role that you're looking for, making sure that you're inserting those throughout your summary. Don't insert keywords and buzzwords just to do it. Only insert them if you can truly speak of them from your experience and what you're looking for. Make sure you end your summary with not necessarily an action item, but kind of what you're looking for. What is your purpose, and what is the most important thing that you want recruiters to know? Again, have fun with your summary and feel free to insert bits and pieces of your personality, but just keep it professional. All right, and the final update to make to your LinkedIn profile if you're active on the job search: reach all-star status. So if you are currently making updates to your LinkedIn profile, you'll probably notice a little bar at the top of your screen as you're making updates. Sometimes it shows up on the side of the screen that says, you're so close to reaching all-star status. This is what you have to do. So LinkedIn users with complete profiles, in other words, that's all-star status, are 40 times more likely to receive opportunities through LinkedIn. So why wouldn't you want to take the time to make your profile extra awesome and make sure you've achieved that all-star status? So you'll know your profile is complete when you get a notification stating you've reached all-star status. If you're not sure what else you have to do, like I said, there will be a bar showing what else you have to do to reach all-star status. But here are some of the main points. Profile picture. You have to have a profile picture. And this isn't just for reaching all-star status. You should have a profile picture regardless. If I, as a recruiter, if I was looking at LinkedIn profiles and I didn't see someone's profile picture, I probably wouldn't even look much further into their profile, because I'm going to question if it's a real profile, if it's a real person. And I just want to see a profile picture. It's very, very important. For your profile picture, make sure it's relaxed, inviting, but keep it professional. Make sure you're the only one in the picture as well. You shouldn't have a picture with you and your 4 kids or your cats or your dogs. Just you is fine. Save those other pictures for Instagram and Facebook. Experience. Make sure all of your experience, all of your relevant and recent experience is on there. Make sure you're adding your skills. You have to have at least 5 skills on LinkedIn to reach all-star status, which shouldn't be hard at all. The max is 50, so keep that in mind as well. Skills is another way to incorporate all those awesome keywords that are going to be searched by for recruiters. So make sure you're incorporating all of those in your skill section and your summary as well. Your summary, this is where you tell your story. You cannot achieve all-star status on LinkedIn if you do not have a summary. Also, make sure your summary isn't 1 or 2 quick sentences. That's not a summary to me. That doesn't tell me anything. A nice, healthy paragraph should be perfect. Industry and location. You have to put your area that you're located. Here's a tip. If you are in a suburb outside of Cleveland, like Strongsville or Berea, instead of putting Strongsville or Berea, put Cleveland, Akron area or greater Cleveland area. So make sure you're listing whatever is the closest major city to you and not the small city that you're living in, because recruiters that aren't from that area might not be familiar with Berea or Strongsville. So again, make sure you're putting the major city and not the specific city that you live in. So make sure you're adding your location and your industry. So if you just go to the headline, select the pen next to your picture, there's 2 really easy ways to do this. That should be the easiest step on here for you. And then the last 2 things, education and connection. So education, make sure you're putting high school, college, any licenses, certifications, any classes that you've completed. You have to have something under your education section in order to reach all-star status. And finally, connections. You have to have at least 50 connections on LinkedIn to reach all-star status. So some of you might be thinking, oh my gosh, 50, that's so many. Think of it this way. Start making a list. Family members, friends, coworkers, former coworkers, classmates, former classmates. You will be really surprised how many people you're able to add. All you have to do is reach 50 and then continue to expand from there, because the bigger network you have on LinkedIn, the further you'll get in connecting with people and having an online presence. So now that we've had a chance to talk through some of those important updates, I want to take a deeper dive. So LinkedIn, like I said earlier, it's not just about having that online presence, that online resume. You can use it for your job search, the job board specifically. So you can dig into some of the job features on LinkedIn. Not only does LinkedIn serve as your online resume, like I said, it's an amazing job board with more than 20 million job postings. So how can we take it a step further and use this job board feature, but use it well? So once you've started to apply to jobs, and these jobs don't necessarily have to be through LinkedIn, they could be through any job board, any company website. It's really easy to grow anxious and impatient. I know our students are constantly reaching out to me saying, Kelly, I just applied for a job and now I'm really anxious. I haven't heard back. It's been days, it's been weeks. Keep in mind, companies take time to get back. Their job process their recruiting process does take a little bit of time on their end. So you have to be patient. Easier said than done, right? But you have to be patient. Some companies might take weeks, up to a month, or even a little over a month to get back to you. So patience is key, but here's something that can help. We call it the 2-pronged approach at Tech Elevator. And this is something that we teach our students to kind of take their job search a step further so they can remain active, but also so their application doesn't fall into what we call the black hole. So this also helps you get notice and gets you feedback. So let's talk through this 2-pronged approach. So the first step, once you've applied to a job, maybe you wait a few days, maybe you wait a week, and then you want to find somebody on LinkedIn, a relevant contact, to follow up. So again, make sure you're referencing a recent job you've applied to, and wait a few days or even a week, and then go to LinkedIn and do a search. So in the picture on this slide, you can see I've done a search using Recruiter and Progressive. So what this search is going to do is it is going to pull up anybody who has the word recruiter in their profile and has worked at Progressive. So you might need to go into the advanced settings and select currently work at Progressive, because this might also pull up people who used to work at Progressive. But because Progressive is a pretty big company, you should get a nice, healthy list of some recruiters who are currently working at Progressive. So go through that list, look at a few of the profiles, and decide who you want to follow up with. And again, make sure you're looking at the profile and not just clicking all willy-nilly. You want to make sure the person you're reaching out to is a relevant contact. So some searches that I recommend, using the company name and then using "and" in all caps. That's really important for the Boolean search. And put the title. This could be recruiter, marketing manager, talent acquisition, HR manager. Maybe you want to do a few different searches and see who pops up. Or if it's a smaller or mid-sized company, you can actually just go to their company page on LinkedIn, click on the right-hand corner where it says 84 employees or however many employees work at that company, and look through the list yourself. This doesn't work with a big company like Progressive with thousands of employees, because then you'd be on LinkedIn going through pages and pages of employees for quite a long time. So that's something I recommend if it's a smaller or mid-sized company. But for larger companies, you'll have to do this Boolean search where you're actually typing in recruiter and company name or whatever specific role you're looking to connect with. So once you've found somebody, once you've found a contact, again, take a look at their profile, make sure they're the right contact, a good contact. If not, go back and look through your search results. They're probably not the only person that you could reach out to at that company. So you have your contact. Now it's time to send them a message. So on LinkedIn, if you're not connected with someone, you're not going to be able to send them a message unless you send one in a connection request. So you have two options. The first one is you can send a connection request with a brief message. But keep in mind, you only get 300 characters on this connection request message, so use them wisely. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. It can be short and sweet, like, "Hi, Kelly, I'd love to connect to talk in more detail about the software development role at your company that I recently applied to." Or, "I recently applied to the software development role at Progressive Insurance and would love to connect to learn more. If you're not the right person, could you please put me in touch with who is?" Short, sweet, under 300 characters. The other option is take advantage of LinkedIn Premium. LinkedIn Premium, if you've never used it, you can actually get a free trial for 30 days. So I highly, highly recommend it, especially if you're active on your job search. You get it for free for 30 days. You just have to make sure to cancel it before you get charged. Or if you really like what you're getting out of LinkedIn Premium, pay for it. I think the lowest option is like $29.99 a month or something like that. And with this option, you get 5 free in-mails. You can send these to anybody, so you do not have to be connected with that individual in order to send them a message. The nice thing with that is there's no limit to the characters, whereas in the connection request, you only get those 300 characters. So definitely something to think about. Again, I highly recommend taking advantage of the LinkedIn Premium option, especially if you're active in your job search. So if you are able to craft a longer message, maybe you were able to find their email address. Maybe their email was at the bottom of the job description or the job posting. That often happens. So if that's the case, make the message a little bit more personal. So put some specifics to why you would be a great fit for the role. Highlight 1 or 2 of your strengths. Explain why you're interested in particular about that company. The worst thing you can do when you're following up, whether you've had an interview with the company, whether it's in a cover letter, whether it's in a first message to a recruiter, the worst thing you can do is send a generic message that's not specific to the company. You want to let the recruiter, let the hiring manager know why you are interested, why you are excited about the company and what they're doing. So do some research, take 5-10 minutes, look at the company website, look at some recent articles about what they're doing and why you might be interested in them. And end with an action item. I can be reached between 2 and 6 Monday through Friday at this number. or I've attached my resume for your reference. I look forward to hearing back from you. Please let me know when you have some time to talk next week in more detail about the role. So keep in mind, you might not get a response. It's actually pretty rare that recruiters will respond to these messages, but it doesn't mean it's not being seen. I've heard from recruiters that when our students send these messages, they actually really like it. Even if they don't get a chance to respond, they are seeing it and they are going to look for their resume and maybe move that to the top. So even if the candidate isn't aware of that, something is happening. So even if you don't get a response, it's not a total failure. Something could come of it. All right. So that is our deep dive on LinkedIn. I want to open it up to questions in just a minute. Again, if you had questions throughout the presentation, make sure you're using that Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen. And Andrea will be moderating these shortly. Just a heads up on some things that are coming up. Next week, we will not be having a career conversation session. We're actually going to move these to every other week. So our next one will be on May 13th, again at 11 a.m. And this is actually just going to be an open Q&A. So any questions that you have on your resume, on interviews, on anything related to your job search, bring us those questions, and we're just going to have an open Q&A session and answer all of your questions related to the job search. On the 27th of May, we're going to be having a session on creating your elevator pitch. So I mentioned this earlier in regards to your LinkedIn summary. I love helping our students create their elevator pitches. We will help you craft an awesome 30 to 40 second pitch about yourself that you can share during interviews when they ask you, tell me about yourself, or if when you go back to networking events, when social distancing is over. So that will be a great session. And then also some general tech elevator events that we have coming up. Tomorrow, if you are interested in coding, we'll be hosting a live Learn to Code session on YouTube. You do not have to have any experience whatsoever with coding. One of our instructors will be hosting that. We'll also be hosting a virtual open house tomorrow evening at 5:30. So if you're interested in learning more about Tech Elevator, who we are, what we do, maybe enrolling in the fall cohort, make sure to attend that. And then next week on May 6th at 2 o'clock, one of our instructors, Joe, will be hosting a really cool session. This is a family-friendly coding session. So if you guys have kids, you're looking for something fun for the kids to do, we're going to be creating a game. So this will be really fun for the kids, for teenagers, for adults, people of all ages. Again, you don't have to have any experience whatsoever coding. It'll be a really fun session. And as usual, if you have questions about upcoming events, check out techelevator.com/events for more details and to register for any of our upcoming events. And make sure to check out our career resources page. We've been updating this on a weekly basis with more content, more videos to help you all as you navigate through the waters of your job search.